Hey, shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters, your brother Kazakya. And I got a challenge to you pastors, preachers, biblical students. Show me in the New Testament where the word tithe is used there. Because many people are falling prey to these greedy dogs that the prophets call them during this time of the COVID virus. They're taking advantage of elderly and people that are struggling, making you feel like you gotta pay them tithes, right? So show me in the New Testament where tithing was something that was required, okay? And I know somebody's probably saying, well, brother, we're not supposed to debate the scriptures. Well, I'm going to give you a couple of different places you can go read it, and read these passages and you tell me whether or not they were debating or not. Acts chapter 9, verse 29. That's a particular story when the Apostle Paul was disputing with the Greeks. You also have Acts chapter 17, verse 2, where Paul reasoned with them. And if you go down to verse 17, you'll see reason with them, which basically is disputing or arguing, if you will, okay? Jude 1 and 3 specifically tells you to contend for the faith. Okay, somebody said, we're not supposed to debate or argue the word. Jude 1 and 3 says to contend for the faith, right? 1 Peter 3:15 says for you to sanctify the Most High in your heart, that you would be able to give an answer to every man, okay? So you say, well, we're not supposed to debate. Well, Peter said, sanctify him in your heart that you will be able to give an answer to every man. So when somebody asks you a question about your faith, you ought to be able to answer. Give them answers, okay? Then someone else would say, well, we're not supposed to judge. Doesn't it say in Matthew 7, judge not? Okay? If you read the whole verse in its entirety from verse 1 to 5, you will see that the end result is that we will be able to clearly see how to judge if we follow the protocol. It's not for us to not judge. And if you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6, you find in chapter 6, verse 2, verse 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 31, verse 32, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 24, where Paul is telling us to judge in things as far as to like prophecy. When a person prophesies, we're supposed to judge the prophecies, etc. We're supposed to judge matters amongst ourselves, right? All these things that he's telling us to do to judge. So we have to rightly divide Matthews to see what it's saying, okay? And lastly, the places where tithes is written in the New Testament is Luke 18 and 12. In Luke 11 and 42, in Matthew 23 and 23. And each one of those three times is not a requirement to pay tithes, but it's actually a rebuke to those and how they tithe, what the Messiah talked about. In Hebrews, we find 7 and 5, 6, 8, and 9, where we find tithes, but that's specifically talking about the tithing in the Old Testament. Now, many people say, we're not under the Old Testament, brother. We're not under the law no more. Okay, we're not under the law, and you can't find tithing in the New Testament. Then either you're under the law or someone is misleading you into believing that you have to pay tithes, okay? Now, here's the thing I want to throw at you, okay? The reason for this video is simply because during the time of perilous times that we're in right now, we don't need anybody to fool us and to make us feel guilty because we not like Kenneth Copeland, who was my pastor when I was in the Word of Faith movement, telling people this is not the time to stop paying your tithes, right? Why? Because they want that money And the prophet called them greedy dogs. Never can have enough, right? So during a time of crisis, this is the time when the church should be having a stimulus program for the people that need. If you want scripture or what the word says or what the biblical text says, according to Acts chapter 4, when they brought all their money that they had, they laid it at the apostles' feet. And what did the apostles do? They didn't use that for their TV program, or they didn't use that to put up some lavish hotel to put their name on it. No, they took the money that the people brought, and it says they made distribution. And you can go read Acts chapter 4. And if you don't believe me, read it and come back to me. You can comment on this video, right? You can call me, right? You can text me. You can call me on Facebook, right? You can go Facebook Live. You can look me up. If you don't know how to find me, you can go Facebook Live and search for Priest Kazak Yah or Kazak Yah or Kazak Abad or any of that. And you'll find me, Kazak Ben Israel, okay? And call me on the phone and we can talk about it, because I'm concerned about your welfare. I'm not concerned about your religion. This has nothing to do with religion, right? Man has made it to be religion, but this is not about religion. That tractor sounds very close to my yard. Like, okay. But anyway, that's all I'm going to share. So I pray that this finds you in good spirits, and that my concern for you is your protection and your safety during this hour of temptation that we're in. Until the next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.